So today, I'm going to be talking about how I got close to God. I know a lot of people have been curious about my testimony. People think that it's easy for me, like easier than most people. And I'm telling you right now, it's not. I get the same struggles as you. I just handle it better because I call on God. But I'm going to say why in this video. My testimony. So, life is not easy, but it's not made to be easy. Nothing is easy. You have to work. Nothing will be handed to you. So growing up, I went to a white school my whole life, since elementary until high school. I never went to an predominantly all black school. I've just always been the only Dajah in my class. So I was used to being that black kid in class. It was hard, but it was I didn't come here to school for these people. I came to school because I had to get my education. So I got bullied growing up for being black. This boy used to call me chocolate milk. And, when you're young, that hurts your feelings, because everybody is white. And I have, this big curly hair. My features are not like theirs. They have, this long straight hair. They have little noses. They have little mouths. It's just, I didn't look like them. And I didn't see anybody that looked like me. So, and all you seeing on TV, you seeing, the white models. You seeing, what the world wanted you to look like. You didn't see any black models. So, I was always worried about how I looked. So, I was bullied for that at a white school, but, I didn't tell my parents because I didn't want to seem weak. At my house, we didn't really have love in our house. If you cry, it was weak. And I'm pretty sure that's like that in every other black household. It's weak not to show emotion. And that's bad, but that's just how it was. And I didn't have parents that was like, oh, you need to do your homework. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Or I didn't really have a close relationship with my parents growing up. It was just, I handled what I had to handle, by myself. But I didn't know that God was with me the whole way. The whole way. Until I got older. So then as I'm getting bullied at school, these kids would run after me on the playground and throw sand at me. And they just didn't like me for no reason because of my skin color, which is crazy. I didn't even do anything to you kids, but y'all don't like me. And I know it's some kids that's going through this and they're not strong enough to tell their parents because they don't want to seem weak or they don't want to seem like they can't handle it. But when kids go to school, they should not have to feel like that. They really shouldn't have to feel like that. And then when I got in trouble and I had to sit in timeout. And they had to sit in timeout too. And I didn't even do anything. But I was just I'm going to sit out in timeout if that. So my teacher said that's what I'm going to do. And even after I told, they still was messing with me. So then I had to tell my daddy. And then it stopped after that. It stopped after that. You have to tell somebody, or it's going to keep going on. So then after that, boom, I went to elementary school. I was still the only black kid, the only Dajah in the class. I was used to that at that point. So then, growing up, I didn't have a close relationship with my parents, like I said. Therefore, I went through a lot of things, and they didn't even know that I was going through a lot of stuff. My daddy drinks a lot. Well, he was an alcoholic. And so he was always mean to me. I didn't have a close relationship with my dad. Yeah, we all have daddy issues, but that's not good though. But it happens. We really can't control how somebody treats you. I didn't ask to be in that family, but God put me there for a reason. So my dad drunk a lot, and he was always so mean to me, like, and mean to my sister, and I don't know, he called us bad names and stuff. I can talk about this now because my dad is not like that anymore, and I'm not where I used to be. So yeah, he used to treat us bad, and my mom didn't say nothing. She would just sit there and just let him do that. And one day I had to snap at my mom and be like, how can you love somebody that treats your kids like this? I would never want to marry somebody that would treat my kids this horrible. Like, and it got to a point where I had to stand up for myself, because I knew if I didn't stand up for myself, she would not stand up for me. And I refuse to get bullied by anybody. No, period. Like, I'm not getting bullied by nobody. I'm not. I always been the one that's gonna stand up. If something is wrong, I'm standing up regardless. And she used to say in the Bible that you have to obey your parents. And, you know, I'm aware of that. But at the time, I wasn't trying to hear none of that. Because, look, I'm pretty sure there was a scripture in the Bible that said you can't treat your kids like that. And when I got older, I did read it. And I wasn't in the wrong. Like, I had to stand up for myself. I had to. Because if I didn't, who else was going to do it? And yes, I grew up, like, going to church. But they didn't really teach what I needed to know. Like, they told me all these Bible studies these Bible stories. Yes, I love Bible studies and the stories. But nobody told me when I was going through stuff I had to call on God. Nobody taught me that. Like, nobody taught me that. Like, my mom was strong in the faith, and she is strong in the faith. But she didn't teach me what I needed to know. Like, she'll be like, oh, not to do that. But she don't go into detail why I can't do that. And I'm a little kid. How am I supposed to know that I'm not supposed to do that? You told me that, but you got to give me more than that. Like, more than that. So you tell me not to put my finger on the stove because it's hot. You didn't tell me it was going to burn me, so I put my finger on the stove and got burned. But that's just, you got to go more in depth. So anyways, like I said, I didn't have a good relationship with my dad. So therefore, we didn't have love in our house. It was always yelling and arguing, and just, my mama just was always quiet, and she just let it happen. So I just used to thug it out. I never used to want to be at home, so I would go with my friends. I had this one friend that I used to stand up for. People would bully her, and I would stand up for her. And then they got to the point where they was trying to bully me. But see, I'm strong enough to handle that stuff. I knew that she wasn't, so I took on her battles. Because if something is wrong in front of me, I'm going to stand up for it. That's just how I am. And at the time, I didn't even know that was in the Bible, that you are supposed to stand up for people that are weak. But I didn't know that at the time. I didn't read my Bible. I just did what I felt was right. So I used to do that, and I had a good friend in her. But then she betrayed me, and she did something that would be unforgivable to some people, but how I am, I don't hold grudges with no one. And so we fell out, but I forgave her, and I still was a friend to her even when she needed me. So I did that. And in high school, I was a virgin all the way through until I turned 18. And my daddy was calling me different names like hoes and all types of evil names, but he didn't even know, like, I still was a virgin. I had promised myself, and I promised my grandparents, that I was going to stay a virgin until marriage. My grandparents got me a purity ring, and around my 18th birthday, I was dating this boy. Like, he was my first real boyfriend. Well, my first boyfriend. He wasn't even a real boyfriend, but he was my first boyfriend. I was just so naive. Around my birthday time, he asked me to go to the movies, and I asked my mom to drop me off at the movies. He met me there, and I didn't know that I was going to get raped that day. And he raped me. I told him I wasn't ready, and he didn't listen. Like, he didn't listen. This is really hard for me to talk about, but I know I need to talk about it because I know it's people that went through this or are going through this, and I want them to know that it is light at the end of the tunnel. Like, after I got raped that day, like, I told him to stop, but he didn't listen. So I just laid there and took it. And then after he brought me back to the movies, my mom picked me up. She didn't know nothing that went on. I didn't tell her. I didn't tell nobody. Like, my best friends still don't even know to this day. But it took years for me to even open up. Like, this is probably the first time I'm telling a whole bunch of people, but I know that this testimony will save somebody's life. Well, I pray that it do. And just because it's not tears coming down my eyes right now doesn't mean that I'm not affected by this, what I went through. It took a whole bunch of prayer and days for me to be able to get the courage to post this video, to make this video. And even after I got raped, I still didn't tell nobody. I still was going through it. I was so numb. I didn't tell nobody. Still to this day, my parents don't even know, but they might watch this video and they'll know. And after I got raped, I didn't tell nobody. I know I was supposed to, but I didn't. I was too ashamed. Like, when you get raped, you don't want to remember it. You don't want to relive it and keep reliving it. People be like, if I went through that, I would do this, I would do that. When you go through something, you don't know what you're gonna do. Like, you don't know. You're saying all this, but you don't know. When you're in the heat of that moment and you're going through all of this, you're not thinking, oh, let me go to the cops, let me go tell my mom, let me go blah blah. You don't want the shame on you that this actually happened to you. Like, you see it on movies, on TVs, and you never thought this would happen to you, but it did. And after that, I was just going through this, and my self-esteem was down so low. It was so low. I didn't think I was beautiful. I didn't want to live no more, but I had to thug it out. I knew I had to. So I didn't want to seem weak. I thugged it out. So then, you know, I'm still in high school. I saw this one boy at a track meet, and I thought he was just so magnificent. And I put him on a high pedestal. I never thought I would get him. So I fast forward to the summer, we ended up talking and we ended up dating. We dated for 2 years, and I'm not gonna say no names because I know he probably gonna watch this video. We had a good relationship, but it was a lot of insecurities, it was a lot of lies in it, and it was a lot of judgment in it, and we ended on bad terms. And he did put his hands on me, but I didn't tell nobody about that either because I loved him, and I still do. So, and I'm pretty sure that he felt bad about it. I mean, he cried about it. He never apologized, but I loved him enough that I loved him more than I loved myself, and I did stay. And then eventually it got to the point where I did have to leave, and I moved to Tallahassee, and I had to move far away from Palm Beach. And when I went to school, I was not trying to have no boyfriend. I had just got out of a relationship, so I wasn't trying to have no boyfriend. And a lot of people was trying to date me, but I wasn't right in the head, nor was I right at all. Like, I wasn't right. So my freshman year, I failed math. Like, I failed a class. I failed a class and passed everything else, but I failed the class because I was worried about stuff. Like, I was worried about talking to the finest boy. Like, I did not have the best mindset at all. And I'm pretty sure a lot of girls think like that. I was trying to hide my pain and hide it into other boys because I never felt love before, so I thought love came from men and not from God. And that's what my problem was. I was trying to find love in other people when really the love that I was craving and yearning for was from God. And I didn't know that at the time. So all these boys would come, and you know, I used to play them. I'm not proud of that, but I used to do that. And then one boy played me, and I really cared about him. And after that, I hurt other boys after that. I didn't try to, but I was so stuck on him because of the soul tie we had, because I had sex with him. And I felt like I could never move on. And then it was this one boy that I did really care about, that I hurt really severely. And he did the one thing I'm not used to. He actually gave me a choice to choose between him and the other boy, and I chose him. I did not expect for him to forgive me and to want to be with me. And after I lied, and because I'm not used to that, and he said because God told him to come back. And I was like, wow. He did the most selfless thing ever. The most selfless thing ever. And I was so selfish. And he still stayed with me. And then it got to the point where he was drinking, and everything that he really thought came out. And it got to the point we did have to break up, because our relationship was based off my lies. And he didn't want to let it go, but I knew I had to. I knew if I really loved him that I would let him go. So I did. And still to this day, this boy do not talk to me. He does not talk to me. I see him in person, I say hey, he just... And if he end up watching this video, I am so severely sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was in a bad place, and it was wrong for me to bring you in there too. But I definitely learned my lesson. But so when my grandma died in the summer, this past summer, she was my heart, and that's why I wear this watch every day. I already had a hard life growing up, so her dying was kind of like the nail in the coffin for me. It was like, because she was the only one that believed in me my whole life. So when I was going through stuff at home, I would lie to my mom and tell her I'm sick and go to my grandma's house. It's just, my grandma was my rock. She like supported everything I did. When I didn't talk until I was 5, everybody thought I was slow, but my grandma believed that I would talk whenever I was ready, which you can't get me to stop talking now. Because your voice is very powerful. And my grandma just taught me everything I know. She was very strong in the faith, very strong in the faith. She always had my back and always supported everything that I did. So when she got sick with dementia and didn't remember who I was one Christmas, the Christmas before last, it broke my heart, but I couldn't cry in front of her because she didn't try to forget me. And then in the summer when she died, it was just, I was being selfish because I had a doctor's appointment. They asked me to come home, and I said that I couldn't get out of my doctor's appointment. We were supposed to go home to take pictures for my grandparents' anniversary. And I didn't think that I could get another appointment. And I didn't know that the next day my grandma would die. And I had to go to my doctor's appointment the next day after that. She died on a Tuesday. And I got the news at 6 o'clock. My brother called me, and He was crying. He said that he had just left grandma's house. And after that, it was like my world fell apart. No, seriously. She was my heart. And I went home for her funeral. And that week of the funeral, I learned so much about my grandma that I didn't know when she was alive, because she was so private, so wise, so strong. And I didn't know that she wrote poetry like me. She was the first one to give me my journal. And so when after that, I took her death pretty hard. And I know my whole family was too, going through it. But I felt like I couldn't be strong for my family anymore. Like, I felt like I couldn't be strong for myself anymore. So one day I had a job interview, but I had a breakdown before the job interview. I had a whole bunch of pills, and I tried to take my life. I had the pills in my hand like this, and I was gonna take like all of these pills, and I was crying and crying and crying and crying. Like, I felt like it would be easier to die than to go through this pain, because I felt so numb. Like, I felt like nobody was there for me. And even when people tried to be there for me, I felt like they didn't understand what I was going through. People kept saying the same thing. Oh, she's in a better place. She's this, she's that. Don't you think I know this? Don't you think I know that she's not suffering no more? But it's not that I don't know where she is. It's the fact that she's not here anymore and I can't see her. When I'm at her house, that's where I stay. Like, I don't have a bed to go to when I go back home. I stay at my grandparents' house every time. And every break, I go home at my grandparents' house and I stay there. And it's just the simple fact is not to see her walking down the hallway, or when I'm in the shower, she'd be like, Dajah, you need a towel, or you need something, or what you doing, or whatever. Like, it's just not the same no more. And I tried to kill myself, and when I was thinking in my head, Lord Jesus, why do I always get the short end of the stick? And right when I thought Lord Jesus, is when he knocked those pills right out of my hand. Like, he was like, nope, it's not your time right now. And the pills went all over the counter, and I just was looking at myself in the mirror like, I really don't want to be here no more. Like, why? Lord Jesus, what do I have to do? What do I have to do to feel better? So after that, I just smoked a lot of weed. That was the only thing I can get through with that pain, to really focus and really have peace, and to really not dwell in my pain, because I really didn't want to dwell in my pain. I really didn't want to dwell in my pain. I would smoke weed and I would pray and read my Bible. And when I read my Bible, it was like I had an out-of-body experience. It's like God showed me everything that was wrong with my life. And I was scared when I read the Bible. I was scared. And when you get scared, that's how you know you're doing something wrong. Because if you was living right, you would find comfort in his words. And the Bible is very much alive and real. I can't explain that enough. Very much alive. God really saved my life. And that's why I would do absolutely anything for him. Anything for him. And I cried so much going through what I went through. I went through so much in my 23 years of life. I did not listen to nobody. I didn't want to hear nobody criticism. I didn't want to listen to nobody. And that's probably why I had to go through all the stuff I had to go through. And the night my grandma died, though, I was talking to this one boy. He was a Q. I'm not gonna say his name or anything like that. I've always wanted to date a Q. I don't know why, but Not saying that they're all bad, but they all the same. Like, they're all men. Like, it doesn't mean anything, like, that they cross something. Please don't take that out of context. I'm not bashing him or anything like that, but I was dating one, and the night my grandma died, he actually left me the night my grandma died. But the pain of him leaving me for somebody else didn't really affect me as much as my grandma dying, because her pain affected me way more than the pain of him not being with me. I'd rather lose somebody in a relationship than to lose my grandma. Like, I had promised myself I would not cry on this camera. But if you gotta cry, you gotta cry. You know, like, gotta let that out. Like, you have to let that out. And I pray that this video touches people. I pray that you really seek God, really seek him. He is here. He is very much alive and real. Like, call him by his name and tell him whatever it is you need help with, because that's what I did. And I'm talking from experience and what I went through. It's not off of what somebody else telling me, because people could tell you so much, but when you actually go read it in the Bible, it's a whole nother ball game. I promise you. I promise you. And I don't live for myself anymore. I live for God. Like, no, seriously, I don't do anything I used to do. I don't smoke. I don't drink. Like, I never had a problem with that, but I don't drink. I don't go to parties. I never cared for parties, but I don't go to those. He took away all of my pain and comforted me with all his love. Like, I fell in love with God, and he just comforted me so much, and he still does. Like, that's why it's easier for me, because I look to him instead of looking down at the ground and looking at everybody else that's next to me or whatever they got going on. Because what will be for me will be for me, and what will be for you will be for you. You can't compare yourself to somebody else's walk. You can't compare yourself to somebody else's success. You don't know what that person went through to get to where they are right now. People judge me off of my appearance or how I praise, because they be like, oh, it just seems so easy for you. No. When you feel like it's a choice. It's a choice. When I wake up in the morning, I pray. It's a choice. I ask him to fill me up with peace, love, and happiness. Happiness is a choice. People don't just wake up and, oh, today's going to be a great day. But you got to force yourself to think like that and to pray. And when you feel down and when you have negative thoughts, you have to pray. Like, it sounds crazy, but it's true. You have to pray. When the devil put them seeds of doubts in your head, you have to call on God to kill it, to kill those snakes, to kill those seeds. Because when you dwell in it, it makes it bigger than what it is. It makes it bigger than what it is. And God is so strong. He is stronger than anything that we go through. He made everything. So why wouldn't he be strong enough to? There ain't nothing on this earth that will die without him not knowing it. He made everything. He made the snakes. Just don't let the devil trick you. Because he almost tricked me thinking that I wasn't worthy. But God declared me worthy from birth, just like how he declared you worthy from birth.